Welcome to Barely Sober News and Reviews. I'm George Pecoraro, reviewing Rogue One, a Star Wars story. So now, what did I think of Rogue One, a Star Wars story? I thought it was exactly as advertised and very pleasing. Just because they said it was a war movie, knowing what I knew about it, that's what I expected, and that's what you got. There was a lot of fight scenes and a lot of battles in this movie. I really enjoyed it. A lot of things I've been hearing about Rogue One is that there's no lovable Star Wars character. There's no deep thought main character who has a lot of backstory and someone who you fall in love with. They don't want you to fall in love with any of these characters because the way this story has to be played out is that they can't keep these characters around because this movie leads directly right up to A New Hope. So they cannot have these characters still around. And so, because they can't have these characters around, they were going to kill them all. In killing them all, it shows the sacrifices the rebellion has taken against the Empire. There was a lot sacrificed to get the blueprints of the Death Star. And they even said that, I think, in the originals. And so they wanted to show that. They wanted to show the sacrifice the rebellions have made, all the way from Jyn Erso to K2SO, Kaysen, the Shaw Gerrera, everybody, on a fight against the Empire. You can't have the fans fall in love with the Rogue One crew and then kill them at the end. Because Star Wars fans are going to uprise and be so upset that there's going to be no sequel to Rogue One. And they can't have that, obviously, because Rogue One leads directly up to A New Hope. So what they do, they show the sacrifice the rebellions have made, and they kill all these main characters, which makes it an even better story. A very anticipated role in this movie was Darth Vader. He's in about 2 scenes. Not really in the movie, but he doesn't need to be in the movie. They also said that there was going to be no lightsaber battles, that there's going to be no Jedis, because the only 2 Jedis that are still alive are Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they're both in hiding. So the only people that are really working the lightsaber is Darth Vader. And his scenes were outstanding. To see him in the cryo of that, you know that he needs his suit to keep him alive. But you never really think he comes out of it. At least I never thought he comes out of his suit. But to see him he comes out of his suit because also the suit is keeping him alive. It's also a suit that brings him rage and pain. So to see him out of the suit was very interesting because I just never thought of him getting out of the suit. The last scene with him when he's going after the rebellions who have the blueprint plans was unreal. Probably one of the greatest scenes in Star Wars history. The fact that Vader is just going ham on all these guys. I mean, in A New Hope and the original Star Wars, they talk about how deadly and vicious Darth Vader is, and there's such a fear of Darth Vader, and you can easily see why there. You always wonder, well, what did he do from Return of the Sith to A New Hope? And now you're seeing a little piece of him just be a badass. Just be a badass Sith Lord, Darth Vader, just taking control. You'll see the fear that the rebellions have for him because he just did some crazy shit in that little hallway. And what's even the best about Rogue One is all the connections. They had little subtle connections to all the Star Wars. From Princess Leia, Generals of the Empire, a lot of CGI faces, and even also main little characters that are in the original Star Wars, like the same guy who tells Luke Skywalker he doesn't like his face is the same guy who bumps into Jyn and gets angry. So there's a little play-ons and other things I'm sure that I'm leaving out that were excellent to see in the Star Wars movie. A little extra music, a little extra Star Wars scene and Star Wars story, without all the big plays and the big, episode 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, coming up 8 next year. This movie keeps the Star Wars fans excited for episode 8 to come out next year. All in all, I think Rogue One was done perfectly. Was it a perfect movie? No. There's a lot of things wrong and this and that. Maybe the acting might have not been the best in every scene. But, if you are a Star Wars fan, you should like this movie. The film was done well and done right and didn't give you so much or so little. It gave Star Wars fans just what they needed. A little something for the fans that want it. This has been Barely Sober News and Reviews. I'm George Pecoraro with Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Barely Sober News. And remember, I am with the Force and the Force is with me.